You've already learned how to form comparative adjectives. Good, better, best. So better, stronger. That is fortior, fortius. Stronger or better. Melior, melius. But we can't actually compare two things yet. You can say that Marcus is stronger, but that by itself isn't very interesting. We want to find out who Marcus is stronger than. So in English, to do comparison, we need the conjunction than. Marcus is stronger than Julius, or everyone, or so on. So we want to know how to construct this than somebody or something. Now, there are two ways to do this in Latin. In English, we only have one than. I'm going to give you the more difficult version first, and that's the ablative of comparison. So the thing that is being compared, all right, so we have x is greater than y. Our y is going to be in the ablative case with no preposition. So when you see a comparative adjective like fortior or maior or celerior, swifter, and then you see an ablative, you know you're dealing with the ablative of comparison. So no preposition, comparative adjective, you have to supply the word than. With the ablative of comparison, there is no word for than. So let's take a look at some examples. Marcus maior fratre est. All right, so our simple sentence, if we left out this fratre, Marcus is bigger. Maior, the comparative of Magnus. Marcus is bigger. Again, not very interesting until we put in the ablative of comparison. Marcus is bigger than his brother. Right, so ablative by itself, this whole phrase, this whole word, we have to supply a than his brother. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, we don't necessarily have to compare a nominative to an ablative. Habeo canem fortiorum equo. I have a dog stronger than a horse. So this equo is our ablative of comparison. And we know that it's an ablative of comparison. We have a comparative adjective followed by an ablative, or with an ablative in the sentence, and so we have to supply the than, whatever it is, than a horse. I have a dog stronger than a horse. Or it can be plural too. Feminae intelligentiores viris sunt. Women are more intelligent, viris. Here's our ablative of comparison, than men. So again, with the ablative of comparison, we must supply the than. Right, so that's the more difficult way to do it. There is a much easier way to show comparison in Latin, and that's with the conjunction quam. Now, with quam, quam is going to equal our English word than. So now we have a Latin word which can be translated as than. And in our example, our sort of schematic, x is greater than y. The than is going to be quam. And this is very important, whatever case x is, y will be in the same case. So quam is going to compare two things in the same case. Right? So both x and y have to be in the same case. So if x here is in the nominative, y will be in the nominative. Like we have here. Marcus maior quam frater est. Marcus is bigger, quam frater, than his brother. Frater is nominative because we're comparing frater to Marcus. Or in our sentence, habeo canem fortiorum quam equum. I have a dog stronger than a horse. Now notice equum, so here's our than a horse. Equum is accusative because we're comparing the equum to the canem, an accusative to an accusative. Or, again in our Other example sentence, Feminae intelligentiores quam viri sunt. Women are more intelligent quam viri than men. Viri is nominative because we're comparing the men to the women. So quam can take the place of than, provided it's with a comparative. So you're going to have a comparative adjective with followed by a quam. Now this quam, you'll find, can be translated a number of different ways depending on context. One other way you can find quam is with the superlative adjective. So our maximus, greatest, or fortissimus, strongest. Now when you have a quam, when you use quam to modify this superlative, so quam maximus or quam fortissimus, we're going to change the meaning of that superlative to be as blank as possible. It's sort of the height of strength. As strong as possible, quam fortissimus. As great as possible, quam maximus. So if we look at a couple of examples, Marcus est quam celerimus. Marcus is as fast as possible. He is as swift as possible. Quam celerimus. He's not just the swiftest, but he's as swift as possibly can be. Or volo equum quam fortissimum. So here's our quam with our superlative. I want a horse as strong as possible. I want the strongest horse possible. Or finally, another example, dedidona, I gave gifts to, and here quam plus the pulcherime plus the superlative, to the most beautiful woman possible. Quam pulcherime feminae. Quam, so when you see the quam, and it's followed by a superlative, you have to translate that as blank as possible.